Well, hello. There you are again. Charlie Greer podcast again. Yeah, I do it every day. Duh. Today, we're talking about doing henna tattoos in LA. At one point in my life, I was a henna tattoo artist, believe it or not. And henna is like a plant, it looks like mud. It's wet. You draw it on the skin, let it dry. It reacts to your body heat. And sometimes it'll take up to 24 hours to darken, and that'll last maybe a couple weeks. So around 99, late 90s, early 2000, henna tattooing was like the thing to do. Uh, I had a friend. First of all, I'm an artist. Uh, I've always been an artist. I studied art at Parkland College in Champaign, Illinois, art and acting. And most of my friends were like artists. Under that umbrella, artist could be an artist, a musician, an actor, a set designer, a writer, this, that, and the other thing. There's a cook. I think cooks are artists or chefs, whatever you call it. So most of my friends were artists. I mean, you'd hang out with what you know. Birds of a feather stick together. My grandma used to say, "Yeah, I guess so." So most of my friends are like musicians, artists, set design, whatever, man, whatever they're doing. So I had a friend. He met someone who had a party planning business, and they did henna tattooing. And so, hey, man, you want to do some henna tattoo? Huh? So I had to go do a test. I had to show up at her place. And I'll talk to her about her a lot more. She was very cool, and she actually became me and our landlord too. She was super cool. Taught me the ropes about the henna business. So I have to go and, okay, you can draw, great. It's not full-time work, but she paid $75 an hour, which is good, especially back then. But you're only working 4 hours a week. If you can get another, sometimes you get like 2 gigs. So, and my rent was cheap, so I only worked on like sometimes 1 day a week, make 3 or 4. And I also got tips. Sometimes you're making really good money, but sometimes you're just making like 300 or 400 a week. Granted, you're only working 4 hours, So like LA lifestyle, it's perfect if you just want to be like if you got other stuff going on, which I always did. So she would do these like movie premieres, celebrities parties, their kids parties. I thought that I had seen wealth before I came to LA. I thought that I knew how rich people lived. Oh, no, 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 no. There's a different. I thought I'd been in like a mansion. Nah, come on. I've been in like huge, huge mansions, big, uh, the biggest you could imagine. Just amazing. Why is this turning green? See that pulsating thing? Anyway, yeah, henna tattooing. So you show up. So when you show up at a party, you'd go to her place, and she'd have like the suitcase on a roller. Man, that's going to drive me crazy. My camera going bad. Show up on a suitcase with a rolling suitcase that already had. You had to wear a Hawaiian shirt. We only had a page. Sometimes you only have like one page of like 12 designs. You don't want to give people too many options because there's a line, man. There's people wanting these henna tattoos. Sometimes it would be like 3 pages, mostly one, and people want like the Superman logo and Mickey Mouse and just stupid stuff, roses, and easy for me to because we didn't use stencils. It was all freehand. I would sleeve people out. I've sleeved people out. I've done back pieces. But it's messy. You can't touch it. And it's like mud and it's all like kind of caked on. We would cheat and use a hair dryer if they'd let us. Sometimes they wouldn't, or you're out like on a patio where there's no electrical. I'd have to sign like confidentiality papers, so I can't talk about certain celebrities that I've or their kids that I've, a lot of paperwork I have to sign. A lot, most gig, you show up. This was in Reseda. Go to Reseda, and then you take off Malibu, whatever. You got to go somewhere. And she had the directions for you and everything ready to go, and who you meet. Da 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 da. Sign this thing. This, that. Can't promote yourself. If anybody asks about you, you give them my card. Like you couldn't be like, oh, if they go, oh, I love your art. You paint on the side. You couldn't even. And I never did because I didn't want to. I love the job. But certain things I can talk about that I didn't sign a waiver, like the show Scrubs. They were doing like a end of wrap party. It was early in the day, probably like 10 or 11 during the day, sunny day, in some park in like Burbank, and all the crew and the cast, totally cool. But I worked hard on it. They all wanted like, they looked at that sheet like, no, man, I want and I did some great work on it. All the people on Scrubs, I henna tattooed. They were cool, really cool. And after you give them a great tattoo, oh my God, they were, they kind of connect with you, and it was fun. So they were cool. I did like America's Sweetheart. It was like a premiere. It was a private event for this movie. I think it was America's Sweetheart. And I ended up, that's my phone. Ignore my phone. I ended up tattooing like Rob Schneider, his girlfriend. I met Eddie Van Halen and Valerie Bertinelli. I can't even. And the reason I say Rob Schneider and Eddie Van Halen because they were cool. Rob was cool to me. I got to see Eddie, and I got to not really hang out with Eddie Van Halen, but and everybody was like dressed to the nines at this event, and he was literally wearing like a white tank top and blue jeans and like Chuck Taylors. I thought it was so cool. But I've done, I can't even count how many thousands of henna tattoos. And if I had some time, I would do like a quarter sleeve or you just start riffing. You could do like tribal and just back pieces. I got hired to do events for like not ring girls, but like these porn companies have like these events, and then they want their girls like so I've done a ton of those where you just like the night before, a couple of days before, you just like do all kinds of crazy, again, sleeve them out, back pieces, logos on their back, whatever. And again, I would make a 75 an hour. So usually they were like 3 to 4 hours. A lot of times they would match what you made. They'd give you a big tip, to get like a $300 tip was like a regular thing. Then you kind of get spoiled and you don't get tipped. And you're just like, matter in a wet head. You're just like, hey. Some places were uncool. I went to some private mansion, whatever it was. And so I have to sign the confidentiality, whatever. And, they had no drinking, no smoking, no whatever. And so it's like, yeah, I never drink and I don't smoke on at work. No snacking, don't eat our food because they have all this food laid out. You can't even bring your own snack. We want you to be kind of like a robot. I don't eat or drink. Must tattoo. So I was in the, hour or two in, I got a bottle of water. You're thirsty, man. You're working hard. Drink some water. Oh, no, they came up. We told you not to drink. I said, what do you mean I'm not drinking alcohol? Drink water. No, we don't want you drinking water. I mean, what the heck, huh? Are you kidding? I got to quench my thirst. What are you talking about? No water. And then finally somebody goes, what do you mean? Even the people like, hey, he's not a robot. Well, I just thought that you're breaking doesn't matter how many things you could. There's labor laws, man. You can't tell somebody they can't drink water. I mean, what the hell? And they're all mad at you. Because she would so I worked for a party planner. Then another party planner would hire her, and then there might be another party planner, so there was levels to this party planning empire thing. So you get to the party and you have like a contact. So you're like, okay, well, and some of them were cool. Again, the woman that didn't want me to drink was lower on the owner or whatever was like, hey, you can't be doing this. I can't say her name, but she was like a soap opera actress who had also she taught acting lessons. So she didn't have a mansion, but it was nice, a house. And then in the back, she had like a back house that was turned into like a studio. And she was just having a private party for like friends. Maybe 10 of them, wasn't that many people. Because usually it would just be so packed and big and dun, dun, dun. You're just tattooing 4 straight hours. And it gets hard. It was hard sometimes when you have like a line of people and people smeared it and they're complaining. You tell them, because once they left, you gave them like a little packet that had like how to treat it, don't touch it, this, that, and the other. And of course they're going to touch it. But she was an actress who had she taught acting. So there was like 10 of them and I got hired. I was the only entertainment there as far as like, and we hit it up right off. I was setting up. They were so cool. And none of them wanted tattoo. I think I gave like 1 or 2 or 3. And it was only for like an hour or 2. And then they were like, she was like, hey, do you want to just hang out? What are you doing? I go, I'm about to leave. She's like, well, just stay around and party. We got food, we got booze, and you're cool. And I was like, really? Yeah. Here's a tip. Come on, just okay. Hung out with them. Like one of the best nights of my life, So some of it was fun. Some of it was, all right. There's certain names I can say because I wasn't, but this American Sweetheart premiere, or it wasn't, maybe even wasn't a premiere because it wasn't to the public. It was like executive. It was on the lot. It was either Universal, Warner, or Sony, one of those big lots. And of course, some of the Hollywood part, they had all kinds of crazy. There was jewelry smelters. Everything. And so there's everybody there is in the industry or kids of these powerful people. And I like this guy, Hank Azaria. He's like he does voices on The Simpsons. He's Mo, and I tattooed him. I forgot what I put on, and then and this was later in the evening. Like he saw it and was like, "I'll come back." And so he came back. Yeah, he was cool to me, but man, maybe he didn't like these. So these girls came up. They were like teenagers, maybe late teens. And they're like, oh, Mr. Azaria, yeah, we just want to, again, they named who they're, we're, my father, so and so, runs the world, whatever. We usually don't do this, but is there a way we can get a picture? We love your work. We love The Simpsons. And he was just absolutely like, no, like I couldn't believe it. Like, dude, just take the picture. You're burning bridges. And they said, you know who you're, these teenagers, because I don't care. And maybe he didn't like the person. I don't know. But I thought that was, I was like, dude, man, you should have just took. How long does it take to take a picture? Or maybe it was just, I don't know. Maybe he knew something I didn't know. But he kind of freaked out. Like, man, I would never act that way. But he was cool to me. So, but it was the thing. Again, I don't know what was going on. Maybe he didn't like this producer. Maybe he was owed money. Maybe he knew that it was like a nanny nanny boo boo. I don't know. There's weird things that happen. I used to go to these events, and again, there's henna tattooing like me. They'd be like all kinds of tarot, and you go to these same parties, and you see these people that work for these. Not every time, but you get to. So it was what was her name? Drew Barrymore's mother was a tarot reader. I didn't know who she was. She was just, hey, and how I met, she's like, hey, we were setting up like an hour before the party. She's like, you want to trade? I'll give you a tarot reading. If you give me a henna tattoo. Oh, yeah, sure. Just do that a lot. She gave me a tarot reading. It was all, man, it was like detailed. And we got in trouble because sometimes they don't like that. Like, what are you guys doing? Like, well, we're doing, this inside trade and we're trying. You can't do that. They reported it to the party planner that I worked for. And there was times where I was like, allowed back for whatever. Like he hates that thing. But I never did anything. I mean, again, and this is another thing. Some people are hitting on you. You know, you're trying to do your work, and of course, you know, it's like, oh, your hand. I never, because I wanted to keep the job. Never, besides staying at that one party, which I didn't hook it with anybody. I would just keep it professional. And you know, again, some of them are. I think it was Universal. Um, I showed up at one for these powerful. Man, there was so much security. You get through certain, you know, they were literally like under my car with these like poles with like mirrors on them. Like, oh, you know, like went through my car, went through my packet. Uh, I had one where it was really strict. They squirted out my henna. You know, there could be a bomb in there, a bomb in the henna. Then I had to use the henna. It kind of goes bad. You can't. It'll dry. You gotta start like scoop it in these things. You know. Sometimes I would get to a party and it was so happening that henna is like down the trough. They don't even care henna tattoo. They don't care. They had like jewelry smelters. So you show up at this party. It's already been paid for. You're not paying if you go to this party. So they only have certain designs. Like, do you want a ring? Do you want a necklace? Do you want a bracelet? You know, gold or silver, or a little bit of both, whatever. And there's only so many designs. Pick it, fill out the paperwork, put it there. And they had smelters, these fire, and they were making jewelry right there. And at the end of the party, for you come back and get your. I was like, can I have one? No. So I was at this one party and they had like silver smelters, gold smelters, all these, you know, celebrities will be paid to just show up at these, you know, parties. I hear they make a lot of money doing that. Like some of them are getting paid like 200 grand just to show up at a party. And then we're talking about like A-list. I don't blame them. I would do it too. So I think they had no interest in me. I'd show up, set up, sit there for 4 hours, and I'd give one tattoo, boom, leave. That happened a few times, a lot. Where like, you know, again, celebrities come and go. Whoever's hot at the moment or won an Oscar, whatever, they get hired to. I was at this kid, again, the wealth that I've seen. I was at this kid's birthday party. And wasn't the biggest mansion, but it was big and nice. And they were cool. They were cool. The kid had turned 16. He turned 16. And he was kind of a good, you know, I'd have been friends with him probably if I was. And he got a Bentley. He got a Bentley for his birthday gift. He was shot. It was a convertible Bentley, like a nice Bentley. And they were like, "Oh, everybody come out to, you know, we're going out to they had a big driveway. Into the driveway there was like a you know, a spring or whatever it was, statue and water. And I was the vendors, me, you know, the tarot people, the henna, they're like, no, we want you to see this too. Everybody has to see it. Why do I want to see? All right, get out there. And I'm glad he did. Like they gave him a Bentley, and he was like, "What in the world?" Like he take it around the driveway, and he did. It was just like, damn, wealth, like power, you know. And a lot of these people were even at the party were kind of mad. Like, hey, make us watch it. And I thought, no, that's inspiring to me. Hey, I want to be there. That's they can do it. I can too. You know, I ain't gonna. No hate in my game. And I liked it. And I would get private, you know, this party plan, this business that I worked with. They would get, hey, there's a celebrity. She's heard about henna. She wants her back done. Can you that? Yeah. I'll do it. Like a whole back piece. I could do that in like an hour or two, just because it wasn't that detailed. Again, it's henna, it's mud. You can't. And we use pie tips, these little metal tips. We put the henna in a bottle, put on the tips. Like there was small ones, big one, you know, and you're always changing tips, and just the easiest was do like a sleeve, and I would just start riffing, like flowery vines and this or trees, or again, it could be like tribal, whatever they wanted, band logos, whatever. Then everybody wanted to do it that I knew, like, oh, I can draw. It's that they couldn't do it. It's just a different thing because the curve of the skin, and it isn't a flat surface. You don't want it to be. You got to have your. After you do it for a while, you get better. I mean, man, me and my friend, we were like the top. He was better than me. We were like requested, like, hey, these guys couldn't do the face. Again, sometimes if people are like too hairy, like one on their arm, and they're just hairy. Some people just are hairy. Like, man, I got to shave you. I had to shave. No, I don't want to be shaved. Like, I can't do it, man. I can't get through your Bigfoot like mane on your arm, complaining. You better do it. Try it, and it smears, and he gets just a big stain, and he's mad. I tried to tell you it wouldn't work. Smearing it all over. And these people have expensive clothes. I'd say, look, and we'd give them a warning. Be like, hey, might want to take off your Armani suit, whatever. Don't put it back on. And they would. And then they come complain. It's like, hey, and they'd always back us. Like, look, you have this information. You were warned. We had a sign there. We had all kinds of, I had a table. It was set up. So I'd show up with my rolling suitcase with all the stuff in it, throw in my Hawaiian shirt. And they'd have a table. I had this really cool, we had these like tablecloths that were hip, and signs. And again, I couldn't promote myself. I had so many people coming up to me like, oh, you're probably a painter too. And I couldn't talk about myself. There's people listening and watching. And I'm like, oh, contact, the party planner. I'd signed a confidentiality agreement. I couldn't say who I talked to, what I saw. That's another thing, what I saw. Shit. One of the biggest was in Bel Air. And I knew there was big mansions, but I wasn't, ready to drive. I'm driving my car, which was like, I don't even know what I had, and park on the street. And then they have like the security gates, and they have these like golf carts that look like limos, and they have the front people, and you get in a cart going down into the estate, like driving up. You can't walk, it's so far, they got to drive you up there. The backyard that's just got like levels of the backyard. One guy had it was like a baseball wall with the lights and everything. And they were rich. I mean, of course they owned the studio or whatever it was. And and I had to sign a confidentiality, so I can't really say much, but they'd made the back lawn with like slot machine. They'd made like this on the grass, like like a casino type thing. And they brought in these women from Brazil with the big feather hats and everything. All that. I mean, you would not believe. And I heard them saying like they'd spent and the party was like 4 hours. They spent like $5 million on this party. $5 million that you can just throw away in 4 hours. What the hell? And they're like, well, it's a tax write-off. I mean, huh? And there was a bunch of us. By then you get to know. I've done it. I did it for like 3 years. And Drew Barrymore's mom was there, the tarot. We're like, don't talk to me. We better not. We'll get in trouble. Again, I didn't even know who she was. It was that night that finally someone was like, that's Drew Barrymore's mother. I was like, what? She didn't look old enough to be, huh? She was cool to me. But then I started looking at her. I'm like, wait a minute, you are Drew. She had black hair though. And really pretty. I mean, she was nice. I mean, and people were kind of gossiping about her, and even the Barrymores, I guess, Drew, and then there's John Barrymore, her great grandfather, all these, Hollywood legends. I miss it. I miss it because you could just lay around during the week, do your thing, do your band thing, art, whatever you were doing, and just be prepared to. But then again, you kind of get if you have to drive, and some of them, people did treat you not so good, but you're making money, and or sometimes they're don't speak English. They're from wherever, and um, you just don't know what's going on. Like, well, see what? Again, sometimes I wouldn't even be used. I wouldn't even. They would even. There were so many. I mean, there's so many people wouldn't even need my services. I could still get paid, and sometimes I would get I'd get uh, a big tip. Yeah, and then everybody again. Then she's hired too many henna tattoo artists the henna company I work for. She hired too many artists. She's getting bigger. Um, they claim that they can, but they don't know how to keep their mouth shut. They don't know how to not go eat food. That was another thing. There's this craft service that they have the chefs there making chicken skewers and all. It's hard not to eat the food. I mean, for me, it's fine because I'll just go eat wherever. But some people are like, no, I'm going to go up there and eat. And oh no, you ate the food, and a lot of them got fired for doing that. You cannot eat they don't want you eating it. Or sometimes they would have different food for you. Like, okay, the guests are here now. We have another chef here for you guys making. All right. Sometimes they were cool. They were like, hey, do whatever you want. Don't steal anything. That's another thing. I was at this private party that I can't say his name, rock star dude. I think it was his kid's birthday party or something or other. They were celebrating. And there was like a Rolex stolen. So there weren't even that many people, maybe, I don't know, 50 to 100, because there would be a lot of people, maybe 50 were here. We're on top of like a art gallery roof in Redondo Beach by the beach, and nice. And someone stole a watch, so they come around, they're like searching people, looking, and I didn't even let. There's cameras, of course, and turned out it was one of the family, like these family, like a cousin that had fluent, whatever, and then like a fight broke out. Yeah, it's a strange, mysterious world. They apologized to me, like, oh, we're sorry, we had to search you, or someone's like drunk wife, some like celebrity or rich person's drunk wife is like hitting all like like, hey, and then you get in like, look, I wouldn't, shit, I'm working. I didn't do anything. And they're like, yeah, well, don't do it again, though. It's like, what did I do? And then I'd hear from the company I work for. Like, what were you doing? Like, I wasn't doing anything. But me and my friend who got me the job, we were requested the most because we were fast, good. We could do other stuff. Sometimes I'd be like, forget about that sheet, man. This I'll do hard. There's on the sheet, I think there was like 20 designs, and people don't want it the same. Everybody's walking around this. No, they wanted like, some logo or just riff off, do something, And I had pictures of my stuff, again, you don't want to show them too much. If I have a line, I can't do a sleeve, So if it was busy, it's like, okay, this is all you get. I'm sorry. And we had there's a poly, like, hey, due to, time restrictions and in the crowd, we can only do. So I would do like 100 Superman logos on people and 100, we had like whatever it was. And it is draining. Again, man, sometimes you leave there, you're just like, oh, you feel like you dug a ditch. People are like, oh, you're just drawing on people. It is stressful, and it's not what, And then you have to wear gloves. I mean, it'll stain you up. And then after 9/11, it just kind of died out. They quit doing henna. I used to do it also on Venice Boulevard if I needed money. They used to actually mix in black hair dye to make it darker, and it would like burn their skin. So they kind of banned that. I never did that. Matter of fact, my friend and I, one of the first people to do henna on Venice. I mean, this is back like the late 90s. Nobody was, and then there were so many people doing it. They called it like the henna mafia. There was like people, I didn't even go down there to even try because they'd come up and it's like knock your table over. But it was great times. thing again. There's opportunities in LA that don't exist anywhere. I mean, not that I know of. A henna tattoo or huh? Yeah, for 3 years, that's what I did. I just would and sometimes it'd be one party a week, sometimes two. You'd be asking for them if you want more money, you want to buy a guitar, you need a car. Like I need more. I need wants and need. And I was reliable. I never flaked. I never missed a gig. I never. They could rely on me. And my boss, she was super cool. And we still stay in contact. Granted, she's moved to Texas and I'm here, but she was really cool, and she became our landlord. See, this is I'm gonna do a few podcasts about henna tattooing, because it's like I'm driving, from Hollywood coming here. I hate my apartment. She's like, "Well, I got this 3-level condo with all these empty rooms. I'm wanting to rent them out. You want to rent a Yeah, huh?" So I literally was like, my landlord was also my boss, but she was super cool. She'd grown up in Beverly Hills and just didn't sweat much and cool. And yeah, I miss her. And I miss a lot of that whole circle of celebrities. And some of them were cool, some of them were not. But look, I got to get out of here. I'm a working man now. I'm blue collar. I got to go to work. Again, I do this every day. So I'll see you guys tomorrow. Love you. Be blessed. Cheers.